Just in case you've been Helen Keller for the past couple of weeks, YouTube Rewind has become the most disliked video on the platform. Now, there's a lot of things we can discuss. Perhaps this wonderful chat that appeared in the premiere of YouTube Rewind that totally wasn't a huge circle jerk. Or perhaps we can talk about YouTube's not so wonderful response to the entire situation and, oh man, all those replies. Oof. Oof, oof, oof. But you know, I was sitting here and thinking to myself, why do I dislike this? Why do I have these emotions? I came to the conclusion that I felt YouTube Rewind was fake. But what does fake mean? And why do 10 million other people also dislike this? Anyway, since I like to overanalyze everything, and you know, I especially like the very esoteric things to overanalyze, I decided we're gonna look at YouTube Rewind and perhaps why people psychologically don't like this video, as well as some other things that I pulled from my research of asking Twitter. So I decided to research what fakeness was, right? And stay with me here, because I'm Michael from Vsauce. Anyway, I looked up what fakeness was psychologically, and really why people don't like fake things. Now, obviously you'd be saying, well, Diesel, the word in the dictionary says something not genuine, so of course we're not gonna like something that isn't telling us the truth. Well, you know, there's a lot of things in life that aren't telling you the truth, like perhaps the truth that the world is flat, but hey, you know, you still believe that the world's round. Anyway, I tried to figure out what makes something fake and why we're predisposed to be put off by fake things. Like, you like wearing Supreme, but you get annoyed if you see someone wearing fake Supreme. Why is that an emotion that happens? Well, I couldn't find an answer. I was actually using very formal databases and actual research, and I can't find a reason for the word to be used how it is. So I'm gonna try and come up with my own psychological intelligence man perspective onto why YouTube Rewind is fake and why people have an issue with it. Also, take a shot every time that I've said fake or my eyebrows have moved. Go ahead, comments. I'll be looking for your count. I'll help you. Fake. So to me, this year's YouTube Rewind seemed like a knee-jerk response to basically how this entire year has gone. People watch this year's YouTube Rewind and they see a fundamental disconnect between what this video is saying and what YouTube is actually doing. Basically, there's a disconnect between the ideals of YouTube and what YouTube is doing in its actions, right? So those of you who might be intellectually inclined in the room might know of a thing called cognitive dissonance. If you've heard that word used, that's how you actually use it. So essentially, that's what it is. If someone's a smoker, right, and they continue to smoke despite knowing that smoking cigarettes is bad, that is cognitive dissonance. We recognize as viewers this disconnect with YouTube, right? And we're sitting there and watching YouTube Rewind, and our mind slowly fades away from the pop songs on screen to a image of Logan Paul, disturbed, distraught, wearing an obnoxious hat in the woods. You and I both know what happened this year, YouTube. A bit of self-awareness goes a long way in making people like you. Believe it or not, when you are completely unself-aware of your actions, you end up like Ninja, where people meme the shit out of you because you just can't hold it in anymore. Not to say that you should include a suicide forest joke, that is not what I'm saying, I totally get that. But you know, to make a stance and actually say something, you know, you don't have to do anything extreme. It doesn't even have to call out a YouTuber. You just have to be a parent of your own faults. And I think that will go a long way in making people like you. You don't need to turn into Wendy's on your Twitter account, because it's really hard for you to do that. See this tweet? So I asked Twitter for their thoughts, and there seemed to be a general consensus of YouTube doesn't know what they're doing, they seem corporate, they seem fake, they seem to have their heads somewhere else. It seemed like an ad to try and get advertisers on the platform. Both my boys James Marriott and Scrubby decided to call it corporate, right? And I decided to look into that further, and I do agree with them. But I went back and I looked at the old YouTube Rewind. So, between 2011 and 2017, I spent a half an hour of my entire life sitting down, watching every single YouTube Rewind, and taking notes every single time I felt there was something that was worth mentioning that people complained about on this year's YouTube Rewind. So, we're obviously gonna get a lack of any concurrent information that happened this year on YouTube. You know, it avoided trends, news, etc. Virtue signaling was another thing that was brought up. So I'm gonna be looking back at past YouTube rewinds to see if they bring up minority groups, if they bring up gay rights, things like that, and then stars or celebrities that aren't actually YouTubers. So I'm gonna take a note every time that I see a Jimmy Kimmel or a Dwayne The Rock Johnson or whatever. Okay, so 2011, which is the first YouTube rewind featuring Rebecca Black. Yeah, guys, you remember her? Oh my gosh, I feel old. Anyway, this one directly references news and protests that happened this year on YouTube. Nothing much else worth note here. 2012 references Coney 2012. That's a big oof. 2013 is the first time I saw a late night host, Jimmy Fallon. Also, should I mention it included it included the song Blurred Lines. That would not be included in anything YouTube related these days, given our incredibly wonderful social climate. They say Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon. I always mix up the two. Anyway, 2014, Jimmy Kimmel enters the battle. I also mentioned that 2014 has a lot of Asian representation. This year, you could also say Rewind was more global. Ice Bucket Challenge, I am counting that as news. John Oliver's here, Stephen Colbert is here, and then I wrote in my script, oof, followed by, damn it, Conan, come on, guys. I wrote these like a couple days ago. Yeah, I'd write that. 2015, a gay pride flag is shown. Is that the gay chef or something in the bus? I'm sorry, I don't remember who you are. Again, it's very global, shows foreign YouTubers not speaking English. John Oliver again being a damn boomer. This rewind specifically references past YouTube rewinds. Alright, on to 2016. The Rock with a fanny pack. Big difference there, you gotta mention that. Very global, Trevor Noah. Guys, I don't know how to read and look at a camera at the same time. That's why I don't use a script. Was that Hodor? Some Saturday Night Live comedian? Oh, is that gay chef a comedian that does a show about driving celebrities places? I still don't know who he is. I think he's famous. I'm probably more relevant than him. What can I say? I'm a great note taker. It's what you learn when you're in college. Open on Stephen Colbert and the CGI from Batman vs Superman. Despacito is a year old. I hope you feel old. Whose idea was it to include both Pauls and KSI? Philly D showed up. That's rare. He's never really represented because he's just news. You don't put news in YouTube. They actually show news and natural disasters. The news shows unity, diversity, and people helping each other in a positive way. And then the scene right after is Logan Paul. So, that was all of the YouTube rewinds and anything relevant to them in today's current cultural conversation. So, some other kind of notes that I took away, and to be really frank, literally everything, all of the YouTube rewinds seem like corporate ads. You know, a lot of the complaints that were brought to YouTube Rewind this year, I could really easily make the argument for every other year as well. Like, it really wouldn't be that hard. Honestly, if anything, it puts more of a bad taste in my mouth that I'm able to draw these comparisons between 2018 and 2012. So, I mean, take that for what you will. As James Marriott rightfully said, it just looks like a corporate YouTube ad. So, yeah, I agree. 4 times between 2011 and 2017, something news-related or controversial is shown. 13 times we get a late-night host or celebrity appearance. Any representation or things about gay rights take full advantage of the medium for all these years, though. By that, I mean, YouTube's a visual medium. And I think this is part of the issue with YouTube Rewind 2018 as a whole, is that the production's bad. Now, I don't mean that it's like low production value, because they obviously they spent a pretty penny on it, so like you can see that. What I mean is, in comparison to past years, people who did shot blocking, you know, where they made the storyboards, the script, it kind of was a lot less visual. You know, it's one thing to put a gay pride flag in the center of your past YouTube Rewind, right? Because that's not saying we have gay people on the platform. You're just showing support for it, right? But in this year's YouTube Rewind, you deliberately mentioned, like, let's take a moment to recognize Asian representation. But guys, past years, you showed plenty of Asian YouTubers, you showed black, you showed everybody from all walks of life. Why do you have to tell me you have that when you can just do what the medium is meant to do and just show us? Like, I totally get it if this is a corporate ad and maybe these corporate bigwigs are absolute morons, right? But you gotta be able to put some benefit of the doubt in people, right? That they are not that incredibly stupid, and they can deduce that, oh, YouTube has Asian creators. Oh, YouTube has transgender creators. Oh, YouTube has creators from all walks of life that we could profit off of. And I think this really nicely ties into the point of virtue signaling, because I really don't think saying you have these groups on YouTube is an issue, and nobody's making that argument as well. But what I see is that people, like, you guys are just saying you have that. Like, that's like if I went to go advertise for Black Panther by saying, guys, Black Panther, the cast of Black Panther, 90% African. Go see the movie. Well, if I don't know what Marvel is, I kind of want to know what Black Panther's about. I think part of what makes it cringy is that you're not taking advantage of your medium, and instead you're just telling us how to feel, and that's obnoxious. But I think another issue with the wording and the script writing of YouTube Rewind is the whole mentality of we control Rewind. You know, that's a great sentiment that YouTubers are in control of YouTube and they make the platform. But that seems in direct contrast with what we actually got on YouTube Rewind. You know, and even YouTubers who were in YouTube Rewind feel that their takes were misrepresented and the fun was taken out and it was changed to be something else. You know, the idea of we control Rewind is completely antithetical to what we actually got, which was the corporate YouTube controls YouTube Rewind. You can have those PG people, you can have those specific kind of people, but like, you need to actually take input from them, because that clearly wasn't the case. Like, you can have and show these points of diversity, but how about instead of saying people struggled with mental illness this year, show someone who struggled with mental illness this year. It's one thing to talk about it and then one thing to show it. I can't believe I'm explaining the rule of show, don't tell. Wild Spartans mentioned how this is trying to appease the mainstream media that already dislikes YouTube. And I definitely see that as well with the blatant pandering, because I don't imagine a writer at BuzzFeed is really great at deducing anything below surface level. Like, the media was gonna hate us anyway. Like, there was no point in trying to appease them. YouTube stands in direct conflict with all of these other websites. There is no way they're gonna write positively about YouTube. It's not gonna happen. So I obviously really dislike the production and I would say the fakeness and the virtue signaling, but the whole idea of people getting mad because it's like a corporate ad thing, and I know this is a controversial opinion to hold, but I'm kind of like meh about it. I mean, like, do they deserve the kind of shit slinging they're getting for that specifically? Yeah, I guess so. But I don't really put it past them anymore. Looking at the past YouTube Rewinds, my entire faith in them was completely squashed after I looked at those old YouTube Rewinds and found so many comparisons between the old ones and the new ones. Specifically, this entire YouTube Rewind was more or less the Kylie Jenner Pepsi ad of YouTube Rewind. It was just the most tone-deaf of the bunch of tone-deaf rewinds. But, you know, for people to say, well, why did they avoid Logan Paul or the charity boxing match or PewDiePie or, you know, commentary or specific genres on YouTube that aren't as ad-friendly? From a business perspective, I totally get why they would. You want to put your best foot forward to advertisers so they're inclined to advertise on the platform. But, you know, in my opinion, I think it would have been bolder, and honestly, I would have respected it more had they just made a stance against things like that instead of just bending over to creators. I would have preferred that they actually, like, disown bad behavior rather than not making a statement at all, you know, because then it just looks like you're being passive-aggressive. like YouTube, instead of subtweeting me, just say it. Just say you don't like my channel. You know, people really now these days have a bad perception of YouTube because of the awful way that they run their platform, because of the mainstream media and how they're just spreading sweet little lies. Logan Paul is another one that I know ruins people's taste of YouTube. Just all the bad media that comes out, and YouTube can barely run any kind of like emergency PR and public relations. They're really bad at it. You know, like when the Logan Paul thing happened, they should have immediately came out, made a statement against it, but they waited so long. You need swift and really decisive execution with this, and you don't have to agree with public opinion, but you have to have an opinion. Like, even these days, we have creators who do fit the mold of what YouTube wants, who are, you know, maybe gay creators that talk about gay issues, and they're being demonetized as well. How can you say that you're, you know, all for this when you directly put those people at a disadvantage because of demonetization? That's the issue people are having with you, YouTube, right? Is that you do one thing and you say another. And that bothers people because they don't align. You don't need to be agreeable with people who are edgelords, but you do need to have an opinion. That's my point. So do I think the hate for YouTube Rewind is justified at the end of the day? I don't really know. I haven't come to a conclusive opinion myself. I don't like it, but like, I don't know. I know that's not like an opinion people want to hear, but I'm just kind of more disappointed. I also think there's a lot of groupthink and people just steamrolling over to YouTube and saying, we don't like YouTube Rewind, and they have no opinion past that. I mean, I could really wax philosophical about this issue forever, but then at that point, I'm just sticking my head up my own butt, so I'm not. In my opinion, I think my main message for you to take away today is that YouTube Rewind is a self-congratulating ad in the guise of something more passionate. In my opinion, YouTube hasn't really earned the right to do Rewind because they have so many issues on the platform. And I think if they had addressed those issues sooner or earlier in the year, or just been more decisive with their action, people wouldn't be as mad as they are now. YouTube, you can say in 2019 you're gonna do better, but it's one thing to say you're gonna do better and another thing to actually do better, because you've been saying you're gonna do better and you're not. And that's the issue. That's why you get all those articles about YouTube putting like awful things on the platform, or creators complaining about getting demonetized. It's because you're not taking action. If the creators are the tastemakers of YouTube, it's in YouTube's best interest to keep those tastemakers happy, because mainstream media will pick up those tastemakers videos and then write another article about why YouTube's a bad platform. Anyway guys, at the end of the day, hopefully you took away something a little deeper aside from hating YouTube. I'd like to have a more intellectual discussion besides YouTube's bad because Will Smith. We already know that. Let's get a little deeper with it. What things in YouTube Rewind bothered you specifically about the platform, right? What do you feel YouTube should do in 2019 if they really want to appease creators? And to the creators that are watching, what do you think about what I said as far as disliking YouTube Rewind goes? And do you agree with me or not? I don't care if you think my opinion is, like, not the norm, but I don't know. I'm just very conflicted on it. Anyway, if you would like to be an intellectual and navel gaze about YouTube Rewind, you can do so by becoming a patron on Patreon, like these lovely people. Also, while you're becoming a patron, down there in the description, I got social media. You should probably follow it. I hear it's pretty good, and that I'm popping with tons of hot takes. I am literally Ben Shapiro with a snapback, and that is something we've all needed. I think that's a good thing, right? Anyway, guys, get out of here. Stop watching the video. God, this guy's been talking for like fucking 20 minutes.